We don't just talk about the news, we talk to those making news. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.
My husband and I are on the receiving end of plenty of questioning and criticism from our media and our fellow citizens. And it's not always easy, but we wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. Because time and again, we have seen that countries are stronger and more prosperous when the voices of and opinions of all their citizens can be heard.
All right, folks, there's Michelle Obama, FLOTUS, as she's known in some circles, in China, talking about how they just love and adore the criticism. But the media is touting this trip and raving about this trip. Unfortunately, they're not talking about the fact that the American press has been shut out because the Obamas wouldn't allow any American press to tag along. Joining us now is our friend Tim Graham, Director of Media Analysis for the Media Research Center. Hello, Tim.
Hello.
So, first of all, I mean, this is scary stuff that they didn't allow any media. Even an AP photographer wrote a piece and talked about how, you know, once we lose access, we're never going to get it back. What do you think the motivation was on the part of the White House? It's only speculation, but, you know, to not let the press tag along.
I think there's a real concern that too much focus on what they don't want to focus on. And, for example, cost. They don't want to focus on, they only want to focus on the positives. So what we have seen in the last couple of days is stories on how, wow, Michelle Obama has inspired the Chinese to create a powerful first lady in the wife of the communist dictator. And then they discuss their similarities. They both have a great sense of fashion. One is in a democracy and one's in a dictatorship. But let's overlook that. It is remarkable in a sense that on one level, and we've seen this repeatedly, on one level there's a real concern about access to the president on the part of the media, and yet the media coverage is so slavish that you have to both ask yourself the question, is Obama serious about curtailing the press? Why on earth would he curtail the press? They're no threat at all. And you turn it around to the press and say, are you serious about being upset? Because there's no proof. You're not exactly showing in your coverage that you're upset. And I think in Republican administrations, I think the media is quite clear that, well, for example, when Dick Cheney wouldn't allow the New York Times on his campaign plane in 2004, that was a big controversy.
Yep.
Because, well, obviously there's hate there, so we can't tolerate it. And I think they know that, or somehow sense that if Michelle doesn't take reporters, it's not because she doesn't like them. But, I mean, they tried to say that this trip was not political. Look, it's the First Lady of the United States. You know, she's tweeted like 32 times about how much she loves education and this and that. They've got a partnership with Discovery. They're doing chats, and I mean, it's an active trip, selling some talking points. It's political. You know, it might not be. It's not political in the sense that she's trying to get anyone elected, because Obama can't get elected again.
Unless herself, maybe one day.
Well, and the whole point of it is, when Mrs. Bush would go places, she was always going to get a question about, well, why are we in such a muddle in Iraq? They had a habit of always trying to, well, if you're really pro-Bush, you'd say they tried to wreck every interview by ending on the point of your husband's, got a mess here.
Right.
So, I mean, Michelle Obama knows she's not going to do an interview somewhere, and they're going to ask her about the Obamacare enrollment.
Absolutely.
Or his weakness with Putin. She doesn't get questions like that. And this is the irony, is, they all saw Mrs. Bush on some level as a doormat, as a librarian. And Mrs. Clinton and Mrs. Obama, who are lawyers, get absolute softball treatment like they were a housewife.
Yeah. No,
They'll get all the cookies questions and the how's the water dogs.
Well,
or how's the salary going?
It's a great point. And of course, this particular trip we're paying for, as you alluded to, and there's no mention of that, and there's no mention of the fact in all the media coverage, as you wrote about, that there were no reporters on this trip. So it's very, very disturbing. And this is the woman who once said that not only she had never been proud of her country until Barack Obama, but got nominated, but also that we're a downright mean nation, et cetera, and that New Yorker piece, and that was way back in '08, and that she got a pass on that too. But let's move on, Tim, to another piece that you wrote about these couple of leftist Muslim groups getting ABC to back off on a TV show called Alice in Arabia. They put pressure, and one of them I think is CARE, and that's the end of the show.
Yeah, they announced it on Monday, and they killed it on Friday.
Wow.
And the point I was making this weekend was that ABC, not ABC Family, that was ABC Family in this case, was going to have a show called Alice in Arabia, where Alice was an American teenager who was kidnapped in Saudi Arabia and had to live behind the veil. And those were apparently the words of death. You can't suggest that somehow women in Saudi Arabia are oppressed. And CARE and the Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee both got heavily involved, and boom, the show is over. Back in the late 90s, ABC proper, not ABC Family, but ABC proper, had a show called Nothing Sacred that trashed the Catholic Church, that had a priest who really didn't believe in God anymore. And told
the whole
women
family was dysfunctional and blasphemous and crazy.
And, of course, that got killed the natural way. It stunk and it had no ratings. But, this is one of those things where you would have to look at it and say, what were they thinking? Didn't they know that this was what was going to happen? How could they be surprised? Because when they discontinued it, they had this whole sound of, we're shocked that this was controversial. I mean, obviously, any one of us who follows these things could have predicted how that was going to go over. The kind of things that CARE approves is this reality show a couple of years ago called All American Muslim.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, that was approved by CARE, but again, the ratings stunk.
Right.
And it was killed. So, but I mean, at least, again, it saw the air. In this case, you could say this one just didn't get off the ground.
All right, now we have this controversy over a new Peter Pan movie, and there's a problem, according to some, with the casting of one of the characters.
Well, one of the controversial things of the Disney movie Peter Pan was the Indian tribe and the Indian princess called Tiger Lily. And, of course, when they're making this new movie that's supposed to be out summer of 2015, they cast Rooney Mara, who is a white woman. What's she in? The girl with the dragon tattoo.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where the interesting point here is if they had actually cast a Native American actress in this, and there's a few that have been in movies that we've heard of, but then that said actress probably would have been attacked for being in a Peter Pan movie, because the Peter Pan cartoon, certainly that Disney made, was seen, or certainly seen today, as very stereotyped.
Yeah.
Lots of how and all those old Indian things, and they had a song called "What Makes the Red Man Red," and it's still cute if you watch it with your kids, but obviously
it's
politically incorrect.
Yeah, absolutely.
The same way Dumbo is.
Yeah.
You can't watch Dumbo, but it is just one of these things where, again, you sort of say, what are these people thinking? Don't they understand that you should probably hire the native actress,
instead of
and not the white lady? But again, it's important for conservatives to sort of make fun of the darned if you do, darned if you don't here.
Absolutely, and you pointed that out. We got to run. We're up against a hard break. Tim, great discussion, great stuff. Read it to folks at Media Research Center or newsbusters.org. Thanks, Tim Graham. Steve Malzberg's Show.